Connectors are simply it's the connection between one data source and another data source.
And it's supposed to be easy.
and often these are defined, if you sort of think in terms of left and right, like the coin that's going into the machine and what's coming out of the machine. On the left, it's going to be your triggers. So many things in our daily life are triggered by things that happen in email. Like it's a solicitation, it's an invoice, it's a bill, it's whatever it is. And then what do? You do something with it. You forward it to the accounting team, or you forward it this way, and they do a transformation on top of it, right? So one connector might be the source of information. So something happens in a database, something happens in email, something happens in Slack, something happens in HubSpot, wherever it is. And then you go through the transformation in between, and there may be a connector in there to, say, a data repository. It might be a database. It might be a Google Sheet. And then the destination output on the other side. Again, that could be a data repository. It could be Airtable. It could be G Suite Sheets. It could be any number of things. And then some sort of like a notification connector. So in my world, my nerve center is Slack. So I like to have Slack embedded throughout my process such that I'm not having to bounce around between different environments. So I connect Slack to my workflow such that things are happening in Slack. So just a super simple example is a transcript that's turned into a call transcript that's turned into an outbound follow-up email. There's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes, but it's connecting to Slack such that I can accept or edit right in Slack, as opposed to having to go into some Google document and do the edits and things like that. And then it goes back into its automation out the other direction.
I think that's good. And I think it's worth noting that, so you described all of these different things in the ecosystem. It could be your email client. It could be Slack. It could be your Google Drive. It could be the Google suite of tools like Sheets and Docs. All of those things have log creds for your account, right? And so the best case scenario with these connectors is that you just put in your log creds and now you're hooked up, right? Once it has access, as far as how robust these connectors are, that's where the options come in. That's where how far open did they peel back the kimono, right? Can I look at all of my documents are just the ones in this folder? Can I have access to all these different things in my email client? Or am I just going to use the trigger of when a new email comes in, right? So when we talk about how robust these connectors are, it's the ease of use of setting it up. Can I just put in my log creds and I'm in? And then how many options, once I'm connected to that tool, do I have to do things with in whatever the workflow or automation is that I want to build?
Okay, so that is a really good point, and this is something that everybody listening should file away, that if you do something like create a workflow within an N8N account that accesses, say, your personal email or your primary business email that does something nifty, and other team members have access to it, they can spin up their own N8 instance that does something as simple as every time new email message that mentions my name, send me a digest of whatever it is. So you just handed your team the keys to your email. Yeah.
Back to the guardrails. Back to the
guardrails. The fun killer stuff.
Fun killer. I was waiting for him to pop up. Here he is.
Yes, Mr. Fun Killer. It's really easy.
Say goodbye to your privacy.
Yes. So forwarding rules and things like that, and there are some basic ways to do it. You mentioned get new as a request in email. For example, if I have a tag, and this is one of the examples we're going to give of an invoice in an email, the only thing that connection can connect to is new email tagged invoice. As long as other people on the team don't have access to change that connection, you're pretty locked down in that case. But the more sensitive the data that you're working with, the more sophisticated the organization, the more guardrails that you're going to need to have in place. if you're a team of 2 or 3 and you're just moving super fast, like there's going to be a lot of informality with this stuff. But I think it's pretty easy to think about the ways that this could go sideways in terms of disclosure, data leakage, etc.